Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. It's really lovely to see so many familiar and unfamiliar faces, so welcome. We're going to be talking all about 5 tips to maximise product photography for PR and e-commerce. Thought it's probably a good idea to start by introducing ourselves because we haven't met quite a few of you. My name's Emma Morton-Turner. I'm an interior stylist and I have been for 20 years. I worked on Woman and Home as the home editor and then went freelance 11 years ago. And then when I was freelance, I decided that there needed to be a website to promote people who do what I do. So I built Inside Stylists, and that's a place where you can find interior stylists, writers and assistants to help with branding photography. Nikki?
Thank you. So I'm Nikki Snell. I'm the founder of a PR platform called PressLoft, and we make PR really simple for interiors and gifts brands. So we host 270,000 product images on the site and make them available to the press. And we've got a huge network of 22,000 media, including Emma, who download the press regularly. So my perspective is how your image styling is really important for PR and successful media activity. So I'm just going to flip forwards and talk through what we will be discussing today. So first of all, we'll start off with different image styles and why they're important for both e-commerce and branding. Then Emma will take you through her amazing styling tips, which are incredibly practical if you want to do styling yourself at home or in your own studios. And then we'll move on to how you organise a professional shoot if you're ready to take the next level. And then we'll just finish off with a brief piece on PressLoft and Inside Stylists as well. So I'm just going to move forwards here. So you can see here we've got a specific set of image styles here. These are cut-out images. They're cut out purely from the background, either in PNG format or JPEG on a clean white background. And on the left-hand side, we've got gift guides, and this is where those types of product shots are really useful. On the right-hand side, we've got Get the Looks. So that's when an interiors journalist will compile a look of different products. And it's very, very product-based. There's no branding, no identity there. But they are very, very important for masses and masses of media and PR opportunities. And they're really good just in catalogue shots and showcasing your products. These are downloaded about 60-70% of the time by the press. So you'll get the huge scale of coverage from those. However, when we move on to lifestyle imagery, these are used particularly for home pages and the bigger features. So they'll give you a sense of a look, they'll give you a sense of your brand and your identity. And this is the next phase of your brand, and it's very, very important. And this is where Emma comes in with her tips today. So do you want to go on with your tip number 1?
Sure. So we've gathered up 5 tips that are probably the most obvious and easiest to apply in any situation if you're doing your own photography. Now, the first one is always use natural lighting. It's quite, if you've come into photography for the first time, quite often people will think we need more light in this shot. They'll put on the overhead lighting, but that will give you a very yellow feel. So you don't really want that. What you want is as much natural daylight as possible. So you can see on the left here, you've got an image of a Christmas table. It's got a really dark room, but you can see plenty of light coming in from the right-hand side. You can see the product really clearly. It looks very desirable. You want to be in that space. It's not too, just daylight makes you want to be in the area. The image on the right, which is a Desenio image, so the product is the print, and the print is quite a narrow thing, it's quite a thin thing, but what you can tell that the light is coming in from the right-hand side because there's a shadow on the left, just a tiny shadow, but that gives the image a bit of depth, and that's what makes it look interesting. You want to look further in, and that is what you want your customers to be doing, is to look at a shot and look further in to see the detail of what the product is that you're showing them. The next 2 images, again, really light, natural daylight, really, really inviting. And if you're doing your own photography, you want to make sure that if you're shooting on a very bright day, you will get very dark shadows. The light shining in is not your friend. You want diffused light. And the way we do that when we cheat, if it's a really sunny day, is we put something up at the window to diffuse it, which is something like a voil. If you're working with a photographer, they will have things like this. But if you just put a voil, even a white sheet, it will create a much softer light, which gives you this really inviting sort of a feel.
Lovely. And now on to tip number 2, your camera probably needs to be lower.
Yes, so if you're taking pictures for the first time, if you've got a camera in your hand, the chances are you're standing up and you've got it up here really high. And when you do that, so if I was taking a picture of this, I'd be looking down on it. You don't really want to look down. You want to be much, much lower. So usually the camera will be somewhere between like mid-ribs and hips. If you ever see a professional camera set up on a tripod, it's always a little bit lower. So the image we've got up on the screen here, this is a Benjamin Moore image from their Colour of the Year from last year, Aegean Teal, I think that one was called. So the focus of the product, the focus of this shot is the blue colour. It's the walls, it's the units, it's not everything going on around it, but you can see you've got a sense of a feel of the space. So by having the camera lower, your first impact, the thing that you see first, is that blue wall, is that blue unit. You get a sense you're in a kitchen, but the lower the camera, the better it is for the product to be the hero. And the next 2 images, I put these in because they're both yellow chairs, but they're shot very differently. The image on the left by Made to Last is all about that armchair. That is a great shot for a catalogue. It's got really interesting elements in it. It's been designed to, styled to show that this is in a space that you can imagine yourself in. But really, when you look at this shot, the first thing you see is that armchair. The shot on the right by Atkin and Time is another yellow armchair. But the way they've shot that, they've pulled back. I mean, it's still quite low, but you've got all that lovely daylight coming in. You've got darker shadows on the right, a little bit more of a lifestyle feel to it. So the shot on the right, although it's great for a catalogue, it's also really good for magazines, because a magazine shot like that, you want to be invited into a space. You want to look at an image and think, I want to be there. I want to live in this house. So they both work for magazines, but the one on the right works just that little bit harder.
Now, tip number 3, group items into 3s or at least odd numbers. This was a game changer for me, and it's really, I see it all the time now since you've said it. So do you want to talk through that one?
Yeah, it's one of those things that once you hear it, you will move things in your house just so that everything's in odd numbers.
My Zoom backdrops never looked better since you talked me through that one,
Yeah, everyone will change their pictures on their walls. So it's to do with the way your eyes work. Your eyes take information in and send it to your brain. And if it's very even and very symmetrical, your eye sees it and it moves on. But if something's a little bit different, a little bit odd, you look further in and you want to see in it a lot more detail. So in terms of groups of 3, 3 is always, it just always looks better if it's a group of 3. 5s, 7s, it all works. But 3s work best. But it's not 3 items, it's 3 clusters. And this is something that's quite difficult to get your head around. So in this image here, you can see on the top, you've got groups of things on the left and groups of things on the right. But as you can see, I've circled little clusters. Now, it's not an exact science, and let's face it, rules are always made to be broken, so you can fudge them a little bit. But you can see that the image on the bottom, number 1, you've got not just a pot, it's a pot with a plant. Number 2, you've got a utensils pot with lots of utensils in, and then you've got the smaller pots coming in. They just feel like groups of 3s, and that is a really good tip. So this image showing groups of 3, this is a very clever image. This is garden trading. Now, if you're shooting for a website and you need to show your products really, really clearly, this one on the left, you've got 1 pot essentially, haven't you? It's beautiful. You've got natural light coming in. It's quite low. It's ticking all the boxes we've talked about already. But it's not as strong an image as the one on the right. The one on the right feels a lot more lifestyle. It's got 3 items, and although you've got this kind of very soft fern in one of the pots, that's attached to one of those pots. So that's 1, then you've got the 2 other pots. So if you're putting this on a website, the group of 3 is a great shot for a website, it's great for branding, it's great for advertising, and magazines love it. The shot on the left is really good if you're showing a specific product, but it's not going to be picked up as much as the one on the right.
And then this example, it's a much bigger shot with lots and lots going on. So do you want to talk through that one?
Yeah, so this is a room set that I designed. This is actually fake wallpaper. It's brilliant, like fake brick wallpaper. It's great how you can change a room very, very quickly. But the layering of a shot, when you're bringing in these odd numbers, the first thing you really notice here is that there are 3 mirrors on the wall. That's your first group of 3. And even down to the things on the coffee table. You can see you've got books, that's 1, you've got a tin, that's 2, and then number 3, you've got a camera. So you've got a little cluster there, and then on the left-hand side of the coffee table, you've got another cluster of 3. So you've got groups of 3 throughout the whole space. Even to the point of at the back on the shelving. So this was a shoot for Harvey's, and all of the furniture had to be in here because it's all product. So the bookshelves, the coffee table, the sofa, the console in the background, the mirrors on the wall. I had to add in all the accessories to make those products look really desirable and really lifestyle, that it's a space you would want to be in. But to break up the hard lines of the shelving, we've got plants coming in and hanging over the edge, and that's a really good tip. If you've got lots of hard edges, break it up. If you've got a sofa, you can break it up with a throw over the side. If you've got shelving having plants, especially now, hanging down, plants overhanging is a massive trend. That's not going anywhere. So always add in something soft if you can, and that's one of your thirds. So you've got the 3 things on the shelf, but one of them is that plant.
Lovely, thank you. And then tip number 4 is making sure your product is the hero in the shot.
Yeah, so this is really important. If you're shooting for a magazine, you want to make sure that it's very inspirational. But if you're shooting for a brand, or you want your product to be centre of attention, you want to make sure that it's the first thing people see, or that it's really obvious that that product is what you're selling. So on this image on the left, this is Lights for Fun. You've got a fun fact about Lights for Fun, haven't you? They're, isn't it the most downloaded?
Oh, you do. I do. Yes. Their photography is so good. So if you need some inspiration about what works in the press, take a look at their styling and the way they work. They're beautiful. They get picked up for front covers all the time. They're one of the most popular clients. Thank you.
And the reason that this works so well is this image here. It's like a little side of a kitchen. Is it a utility? You can't quite tell. It's obviously Christmas, but the product is everywhere in this shot. So the hero of the product hero in this shot are these lights. Now, I should just add that we never put candles under a shelf in a shoot, because having set fire to a shoot location before, we are super careful. These are not real candles. They are fake flames, but they look so incredibly real. They're absolutely brilliant. So the candles are a product. The pillar candles, the church candles, the garland, there's lights. You've got some stars that light up. Nearly everything in this product nearly everything in this shot is a product. So you're straight away seeing the product. It's not just a beautiful shot. You want everything in the room. And the one on the right by Also Home, this is a really beautiful shot. The hero is definitely the bedding. You know this shot is about the bedding, but the way they've shot it, and it's quite loose. You could imagine yourself squishing up on a cosy night in the winter on this bed. But the hero is definitely the product. It's quite obvious.
Okay, the next example's here on the same theme.
Yeah, so talking about hero products, this image on the left is Annie Sloan paints. And when you think about it, paints are nearly always in the background. You don't always notice them straight away. But what they've done here is made a really interesting feature of the paints. So even the cushions are like lying down, so you're not really noticing them. Your eye is drawn straight to the wall, straight to that interesting orange and red, which some people think shouldn't be seen, but I think it works very well here. So it's really interesting how they have made that very impactful. The shot on the right by Creature Candy is really interesting, because actually one of the next tips is you should never have your hero in the centre. But this one works really well because the product, these really lovely notebooks, it's all about that. So the hero is the notebook, but what they've done is they've put things around this shot, around this flat lay, and it's when you put something in a shot but it's coming out of shot, you know there's more going on. You know this is on a table or a desk and there's more things just to the right or just to the left. That makes everything in the centre the hero. So this bird, dead centre, actually works quite well. So this is a good example of breaking the rules. Because the next tip is...
Yes, tip number 5, never have your hero in the centre of the shot. That image excluded.
Exactly. So ignoring the last image. So the easiest way to do this is to imagine you're looking through a camera and the grid is up on the screen. you never want the main thing that you see to be in the center. So in a room set, or if you were shooting a console table or anything, you never want the hero product to be slap bang in the middle. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about the way your eyes take in the image and the brain computes it. It's too slap bang in the middle. You see it, you move on. You always want someone to look at something and look further. And that is done by putting the hero product just to the left or just to the right, at the bottom or at the top. So this image here by sofa.com, you can see it's in the bottom right-hand corner. Although it covers the center, it's not just slap bang in the center.
And this one's another tip, which is sort of related to all of them, is the squint test. So just to see if your shot is focused is literally squinting at the screen, so making your focus go a bit fuzzy and seeing what's the focal point. What is the image which is or the product which is jumping out at you? You might have your accessories might be too dark in the background, your plants might be too heavy, in which case just move them off, squint again, and then retake.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. And then here, Christmas, because in editorial land, we're all shooting Christmas, and I'm sure brands have already got their Christmas stock ready. This is a shot about the Christmas decorations, but you don't want your Christmas tree slap bang in the middle. So again, you've got the sofa in the shot, but it's going out of the set. So you know there's more living room going on here, but this is still really interesting. You want to delve deeper. You want to see what's on those Christmas tree decorations. You want to see the detail in them. So cropping through the sofa, cropping through the table is pushing your eye to the left of the shot because you're in that 2/3 on the left.
Great. So if you have either done your own photography before and you think, well, I know I can use some of these tips, but I want to take the next step, how do you go about hiring a professional? And I think there's lots of different elements to a shoot, so it'd be great to hear what all of those elements are and how you put it together.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Sometimes people will start with a photographer. I think personally most people start with an interior stylist.
Of course.
Because we know a lot of people. So if you are doing a shoot, you might be asked to recommend a photographer. They might be asked for shoot locations, set builders, assistants. There's so many people involved in a shoot that a stylist can help you with all of that. And we can help with the propping. I think that's one of the most time-consuming things. People don't realise how long that takes. But if you're doing everything yourself, you're not doing things in your business. So by having a stylist come and do it, and they can pull it together in an art-directed sort of manner, we can visualise a brand's what their story is, what they want to get across in their images, and make sure that the props fit.
And so where do you find your props? What are some of the places where...
That's a secret, I can't tell you that. Well, I think what it is that, for example, we do most of our Christmas shoots, they start around June. So getting hold of a Christmas tree in June, it's not impossible, but that's when they're at their biggest growth spurt. So you get Christmas tree, but with loads of really light green at the end. So we get in touch with the British Christmas Tree Growers Association, which you know as a stylist, and then they will find you one. And it's knowing things like that, knowing where to get out of season, peonies in the middle of winter, and when you need, because if we're shooting editorially, we're always shooting miles ahead, but if you're shooting a brand's catalogue, you need to be ahead of editorial. So like brands will tend to shoot Christmas ranges that will go in the magazines around June, but the magazines will then be shooting them, well, this year a little bit later, but it's around September. So it's knowing how to get the out of season things and knowing how to find prop houses that have the right sort of, if you're really modern, you need to know which prop houses hold the modern furniture, and the same for vintage and older things.
And so stylists are really about the logistics and pulling it all together. It's not just about the day itself. It's a lot of pre-planning that goes into doing a shoot. Yeah,
I think it sounds very glamorous. If you tell someone you're on a photo shoot, it does sound very glam, but really it's about 80% logistics and 20% styling on the last day. There's a few stylists in the group here, and they're all nodding and saying, yes, that's right. It's a hell of a lot of organisation and pulling everything together.
Yeah.
But the styling's the fun bit at the end.
And so obviously Inside Stylists has been built both to promote stylists and also help brands source stylists. So do you want to talk a little bit about the platform itself?
Yes, I would love to. So I basically developed Inside Stylists as a place to find people who will help you. So if you need an interior stylist to shoot a product for you, you can hire them. We have drop-down menus where you can find people's profile pages. You can see what they're all about. You can find their social media and see what they're up to at the moment. you can also see an example of their portfolios. So they have images on their pages to show you the kind of style they do. So if you've got someone who's really colourful and your brand's really colourful, you might find that that is the person who you're going to connect with. Whereas if you want something who's really into vintage, then maybe that's going to work better for your brand. We also have, it started during lockdown. We just came up with the Insiders Shoot Studio because we couldn't go out and shoot in locations, but if we were kind of super careful, we could shoot in people's houses or our houses. Stylists and photographers tend to have quite good houses for shooting in. So brands can send their products to a stylist and they will have what I call a work husband, someone that they work very well with together. They will go and shoot your brand, your products in one of their houses, and it's a case of finding the house that suits your brand or finding the stylist that has the house or the style that works for you. So that's something else that we can help with.
And that's a good stepping stone between doing your own shoots and going to a full-on, full-scale professional shoot, which can be, you know, 10, 15,000 pounds plus. And this is much lower cost. It's a good way of stepping forwards into having a professional like Emma or someone, one of your network, doing some styling for you. So definitely worth considering.
Yeah, and you kind of don't have the location fee because you're in someone's house, which is great because locations can be around £1,000 a day. So it does save money, which is always good.
Great. So if you are interested in learning more about doing your own styling, you've just developed, literally, you're launching it now, a new styling course.
Yeah, I've got 2 courses that I'm launching. One is teaching people how to style. It's a live workshop course that's going to be opening up really soon, like next Monday. So there's early doors for that, which I'll share in a second. But the other course I'm doing is called Style Your Brand. And this came about because we did a webinar during lockdown and we were talking to lots of the brands on PressLoft, and they were saying that they're not at the level where they can afford to do professional shoots. They can't afford stylists. So they're doing their own photography, but they're missing I mean, stylists tend to assist now for 2 years before they go out and do their own shoots. It's not a case of just making pictures look really pretty. It's understanding, making the product the hero. So what I did was I've created a course that is all about teaching you everything you need to know about how to do the styling, how to put the photographer in front of it, make sure that things are looking as they need to look. You'll learn all the background about the propping, the setting up your location backdrops, everything involved in making your photography go up the next level.
Wonderful. And there's, I think there's some leaflets going around about that as well.
Yeah, I've got, I'm kind of very aware that we're sharing a hell of a lot of information here. So there's a leaflet with all the things that Inside Stylist can help you with if you are a brand or if you're looking to hire a stylist. I've put everything on a link. So it's insidestylist.com/top drawer, which is on the leaflet. If you want to just come and have a chat afterwards, I'm here to chat. I do like to talk, so I'm quite happy for people to come up and have a chat. That's absolutely fine. Also, I should mention that when I mentioned to Top Drawer, when they asked me to do this talk with Nicola, they asked if I would give a discount. So I was like, of course I'll give a discount. So there's a 15% discount code on the leaflet as well, so which I'm not giving to other people. It's just the people who are here. So very exciting.
Great. So I'm just going to wrap up very briefly talking about PressLoft. So we are a PR platform which enables brands to do their own PR if they don't know anything about PR. You just simply upload your images to our platform and we make your products available to, like I said, 22,000 press. So we've got a free 60-day trial period, which you can sign up for at pressloft.com/top drawer. We've got some trend reports going around, and we're at stand 107 next to the press office if you want to come and see us for a PR consultation, either now or after the show as well.
I have to just tell you that I went freelance 11 years ago and I got inundated with the shoots, but I was doing features as well. So having PressLoft there with all the images at like 11 o'clock at night when everyone's gone to sleep. Look, people are nodding. They know what I'm talking about. We work all the hours, and in order to get loads and loads done, we don't have to talk to anyone. We're all signed up. So stylists and writers I'm talking about here, you can get hold of all those images in a flash. I could do a whole feature in an evening before the PR's even woken up again. So it's really useful. And I know you've got more people coming on all the time. And if I'm doing something on orange, I just type in orange and then I go, right, I need a lamp, I need a sofa, I need this. And you can just pull it all in from one page essentially. So it is a massive, massive tool for people who work within editorial.
Yeah, so we put all massive brands and startup brands on the same page. So, really everyone can get press coverage, and that's what we're all about. So, thank you,
Yeah.
Emma. That was really
Really fun.
insightful, really, really great. Does anyone have any questions at all about styling or imagery as a whole? Anything to do? PR, styling? No, anyone?
Hello. I've just got a question. We're a stationery brand and we're just looking for photography. Sometimes we do a lot of flat lays, which can be very stylized but a little bit boring. How important is it to you to get sort of like a personal, sort of physical element in there, sort of like someone using the product or in situ and that sort of thing?
That's very good question. And we were talking about this when we were kind of running through how we were going to do this talk today. And actually, I will quite often use people in an image, but I will also make sure I've got that image with no people in, because some magazines will love to have images with someone holding something, or if you're doing cushions, maybe someone, but you can't see them because if I can see a face, I'm going to imagine that's the person who buys that, like as brand photography. But if I don't see the face, I just know there's someone there. So for a website, it's probably perfect. But if you want it to be picked up by a magazine, Nikki was saying that they're less likely to use imagery with people in. If you want to make it look a bit more lifestyle and a bit more real, the things that you put in are either people, fruit and flowers, or food and flowers. That makes the space always look very realistic. Do you want to talk about you were talking about how PressLoft downloads with people in?
Yeah, so for stationery, it is a tricky one. They are so flat, the photography. So, but journalists love cutouts for all the gift guides and the get the look. So the ones I've seen that work really well are the ones with the envelopes for the stationery. But in terms of propping, I mean, its pens work really well. Have you tried that with yeah?
Sorry, it's just where you have someone actually, do you have their hands in the shoot or, that sort of thing? Obviously, with nice nails, but,
it's difficult. I think both get picked up, but it's about different publications have different styles. So for me, I always recommend cutout first, lifestyle later, but you would say both.
You quite often hear a stylist on a shoot going, let's do it with and without. So with the hands and without the hands, because then you've covered all bases. And if you're just doing a shoot in one space, it doesn't take a second to just take the hands out and tweak it a little so that you've covered. So if you're putting images on PressLoft and you've got both on there, if a brand doesn't like hands, then they're not there, and it's fine. Does that help? Good. How do you source a model? Well, models are quite expensive, especially hand models. I think you just have a manicure. You've got good hands. Anybody else? Any more questions?
So I'm a designer, like artist, designer, maker type person, and in terms of everything you have said, I always try and put my artwork in the background as like a storytelling and how the product has been developed from it. But in terms of styling that, if I'm working with a space that's very small, like my studio, how would I kind of use a small space for a styling shot?
Yeah, so in case you couldn't hear, this person is an artist and they have art that you put on the wall. So like a canvas sort of thing, or you make, okay, so it goes on the wall or it goes everything. Oh, you make everything. Right, so what you have to do is decide what is the hero. So if the artwork is the hero, you have to style around that. So say you might do something where you've got something hanging on the wall and then you've just got a chair and something really simple. So you can see it's a chair, but it's obvious that the artwork is the hero. I think it depends on what the other things are, but you always want, so if you've got the art in the background, but you're focusing on something smaller. So if you had something on here, you could focus here, but have the art in the background, but going a bit soft. So we call it soft focus, not fuzzy, but if it goes fuzzy in the background. So it's like, you know that this is what you're looking at, even though it ties in because you've already had a picture of the, yeah, so you've got like almost two images. So one is focusing on the product that's here, and one is focusing on the product that's on the wall. I hope that helps. Any other questions?
maybe if you're happy to just kind of hang around for 5 or 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and if you've got some questions that you think of, then just come up and join. Thank you so much. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.